So each council has a choice. We do, however, believe that there are two services that we consider reasonably essential. We believe that community engagement, expression, dialogue, and deliberation is an essential service for a council to provide if they have the resources and capability to do so. And we believe that there are two forms in which this is provided: non-crisis based and crisis based. So for example, we know that there has been a significant increase in the use of opiates within Horry County in South Carolina, and there has been a significant increase in overdose rates within the cities, within the citizens, the community of Horry County in South Carolina. And this is a crisis, and it's something that the community needs to be engaged about and to create an opportunity for the community to express their experience of this challenge, to be in dialogue with each other, and then to engage in deliberation. And once you start engaging in deliberation, that's when you're bridging over into issues management. Now this is something that I would consider sort of midway between sort of full-blown crisis and non-crisis based. All right, so this is the drug overdose problem in Horry County. Okay, and it is important that councils provide citizens with the opportunity, right, engage the citizens of the community and give them the opportunity to express themselves, to be in constructive dialogue with each other, and to deliberate over the nature of this problem, its causes, and how to address it. In other words, to extend over into issues management. Now, true crisis-based community engagement, expression, dialogue, and deliberation would be something like the Emanuel 9 tragedy, where there is the potential for a social response that is potentially violent and destructive. So a crisis-based situation is when there's typically very strong emotions that are fairly widely held, with the potential for that to be accompanied by destructive behavior. And the Emanuel 9 situation, the Emanuel 9 tragedy, is an example of that. Non-crisis based would be something like the disparate graduation rates amongst minorities and Caucasians in South Carolina. It's a crisis, it's a problem, it's something that needs to be addressed, but it's not something that you necessarily have to have a community meeting about this evening. But there needs to be community engagement about this issue. The community needs to express itself, to engage in dialogue, and then to be deliberative. Now, when I say be deliberative, what I'm saying is once an issue has been identified, then that issue needs to be appropriately analyzed so that the advice that is offered is based upon reasonable evidence and appropriate analysis, as opposed to simplistic judgments. Because any advisory strategy that is based on simplistic analysis and adjustment, simplistic analysis and simplistic judgments and advice is not going to be taken seriously by the key stakeholders who need to be influenced in order for something productive to occur. So, okay, so that's graduation rates, what we consider sort of the non-crisis. It's a problem, but something that doesn't necessarily need to be addressed immediately. So when we move over into deliberation, then we need to evoke a properly structured organized and executed issues management process. And this can also take place in a non-crisis mode or a crisis mode. And often these things are not necessarily done well. I mean, we had, I believe, quite a bit of community engagement, expression, and dialogue in response to the Emanuel 9 tragedy, but I'm not sure whether we engaged in a structured analysis of the nature of this event and whether the behavior represented something that was being encouraged by systemic conditions within South Carolina. We did not really engage, I believe, in an examination of immediate, intermediate, and root causes in an organized manner. And so I don't believe that the deliberative component or the issues management component of that was necessarily done that well. Now, the only difference between a non-crisis and a crisis-based issues management process is that a crisis-based issues management process is something that needs to take place much more intensively and much more quickly. So, if we step back for a moment, what am I suggesting? What am I advising here? And I'm slowly pushing myself out of the picture, I've noticed, is that community relations and development councils, their primary purpose is to advance community relations and the quality of community life. And the services that they can provide in order to do so ranges everywhere from conducting community assessments to promoting community, to engaging the community and promoting community expression, dialogue, and deliberation. And promoting community deliberation essentially means developing and making use of a structured issues management process in order to produce an advisory strategy with regard to how to influence key contributors to the quality of community life. There's information management, which means gathering and disseminating information that helps improve the quality of community life for citizens in general and in particular at-risk citizens. There is events management and there is group relations management. And what we're advising in South Carolina is that each council, we're supporting what we call an accordion style model, which essentially means that the nature and the level of service provided can expand and contract based on the resources, the personnel, the time available, the commitment of the various councils so that they can choose their own level of service provision. But we do encourage that councils at least develop the capacity for managing the community engagement, expression, dialogue, and deliberation process, and for managing a community issues management process under both crisis and non-crisis based conditions.